So simple currying in JavaScript. And yes, it says JavaScript. I know. Honestly, in Scheme, it's not all that bad, but I'd rather show you JavaScript first because it does actually a very pretty job of this. Currying in C++ is it's disgusting. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. So I'm going to show you JavaScript so you can kind of understand the fundamentals first, and then we'll get into a very minor thing in Scheme about it too. Because again, this isn't applied suddenly often. Let's put it that way. So the function, remember, it's not going to calculate and complete until it receives all its parameters. So what's going to happen, it's going to be called a partially applied functions. A partially applied function is going to be stored as a variable, and then as we add each piece to it, to that variable, when we finally add the last piece, then the function will actually do its job and spit the answer out. How does this look? So in a JavaScript function, which is very similar to what you see in Python here, I have two functions, the add function and the curry add function. Now, the add function, I just threw it in there. I want you to basically ignore from here on out, but adding is, well, adding two items together, A and B, and that's it. Ignore that. I want you to take a look at the currying function, or curry add here, and you'll notice that we have function curry add, and then return of another function, B, and then it'll return the A plus B. So how does that read as this? In the curry add, it needs function and a parameter B in order for it to complete and return A plus B. Now, what does that look like when you're actually scripting this? Now, what it looks like is, frankly, this. So in our normal call in Java or JavaScript, we would have add 3 and then comma 4, just like a normal parameter, normal function that you've done in C++ or Java, and it works fine. In this one that we're going to have, though, this one's a fully applied curry function, or curried function. Here's a curry add, and notice how it's broken up. It's broken up as my first parameter, which is going to be A, is going to be 3, and then the second parameter is 4, and it does its job, spits it out, and all it's done. Now, here's the funny part. It's going to do the first part of curry add and 3, and then it's going to wait for that last part, a parameter, for it to be called, and that's 4, for it to do its whole job and do the rest that we have right here in the actual function itself. But here's the weird part and the neat part about this. Is that down here, this is how it would be partially applied. Now remember, the theme is that we don't know all the parts quite yet. Maybe part of your program gets part 1 and then we're waiting for part 2 later on down the stream. Fine. This is what it would look like. You'll see that, yes, I am using a variable in JavaScript that's going to equal the curry and the first parameter, which is really going to be A, and it's partially done. So it's going to add that partially completed application of that function, curried function, to the variable add3. So add3 is actually a function. And it's not even a completed function yet. It's waiting for another parameter. So when we go ahead and break things up that we have right here in the next line down, we have our add a 3, which is already that unfinished function, but we give it the second value of that parentheses 4. Now it's a fully applied curry function. It was waiting for that second parameter, and boom, it's going to do all the work that you wanted it to do. So again, there's some type of time delay before you're able to get all the parameters in there. Again, that time delay could be, something from the web. You're waiting for a database, but you got one part of it. There's got to be some reason behind the time delay here. So you notice I also tried to do the exact same thing, but this time with 3 different values of it, 3, 4, and 5. It just couldn't do it because it's really expecting just 2 values in there, a value A and then a value B, and then going from there. So you really can't keep adding items to it. You can create it to have a third variable, but you have to do that intentionally. And what the function is in front of you would not end up doing that. So the last part here is just showing you the output of all this. There's a hello world that's being highlighted right now by my finger or the highlight here. We have our normal function call, which is right here with the add. But the curried function call, which is right here, it's going to be combined. Notice it goes in and prints out that 7. And then the broken up, which is this last line right here, and go ahead and print things out. So just that output script is just proving that everything worked out just fine.